Hello, everyone. I'm here with Marianne DeWolf, and she's a 4/6 sacral generator. I'm a 6/2 sacral generator. And we're going to the role models are always so curious about coming off the roof. So I was just going to ask some questions to Marianne about, first, if you wouldn't mind sharing just a little bit about human design, where you've studied for a while. So you want to tell us a little bit about how long you've been studying or what got your attention with human design?
Yeah, sure. I think it's also almost 15 years ago that human design came into my life for the very first time. And at the time, I thought, oh, wow, this is cool. And the first experience was like an experiment. We had quite a large group of people. And what the lady did was just putting us together by type. And that alone already made a huge impression, to feel all those generators together. You could hear the buzz, it was really cool to experience that. But I never thought of studying it. But then again, some things have a tendency to come back, and human design just coming back and kept coming back. And about a year and a half ago, I thought, okay, I heard you, I'll study it. I want to know more about it. I want to go deeper, and I want to learn people. My life has always been about who am I really. So I think this is a wonderful tool to help people live their true selves. So that's how I got into human design, and yeah, it's still fascinating and so much to learn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember from another conversation that you had, that was something that we had in common, that we both, in our early years, I started 20 years ago, but we both were able to study in person, and
Yeah.
what a impact that makes on us when we feel it in our body, like, oh, they're like that, separating, by type and centers and all that. So I remember that. It really sticks with you. So
It does. I
um,
mean, you never forget. And I was so lucky to spend 3 days with Marianne Vinegar like last November. Yeah, it created so much inner peace for me because it was so clear. Like, something simple as the Arshna. Like when we separated open and defined, I went like, my mind is empty. And the moment we got together again with defined, I just felt something inside of me going, I have to be awake. I have to be alert. I have to know something. That was so obvious. And again, it's, you don't know which aura type you're in when you're outside, just going in your day-to-day life. But just knowing that and sensing that was huge, was really good.
yeah, but a
Yeah.
lot of peacefulness when we get to be ourselves and have
Oh,
that validated. I think
oh,
that's a lot
yeah,
of what human design is about, validating and letting go of what's not true. So
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
So people are really curious about the roof process. Those that are role models, if they've studied
Oh,
any of human design, is they know that there's three phases of life, and I think everybody goes through them, but it's more noticeable and evident for the role models, which is the first 30 years of
mm-hmm,
having, maybe a lot of chaos, a lot of confusion, maybe a lot of relationships. And
mm-hmm,
and and then there's this tendency to pull back around 28 to 30. And then that second phase goes from the 30 to about the 50, where you're kind of like, I'm not sure I trust. What was that all about? And then the third phase is after 50, which is called, the blooming, or
mm-hmm.
just like the cocoon, the caterpillar to the butterfly. Like, you really become yourself after all that time, of observing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So your profile, just to remind people again, I think maybe I'll show your chart while you're talking here. And then people can see that, oh, sorry about that, folks. I'll get that back. I'm trying to move this. So she is a 4/6 profile. And so the 6 is in the unconscious. So how did you experience that transitional time? You knew about human design during that time?
No. But it gave me a huge relief learning about it, because when I was 29, so that's the first Saturn return in astrology, I got married and I wanted to have a family and, things like that. I moved abroad. I gave up my job, but I didn't know anything about it. And I wanted to do other things with my life, build a career and I don't know, I had all kinds of plans. And somehow it never happened. Whatever I did, and let me be clear, I was living my not self.
Yeah, the mind had a plan.
The mind had a plan, but I learned with the 41,
look at this design. This is someone that the mind is not a good place to hang out.
I didn't know it at the time, I can tell you, but so when I first learned about it, and I think it was in my late 40s. So it was a long time after my Saturn return, but I just felt a deep relief that my life was, although I was living my not self, in somehow going according to plan. And that was good. And then I learned about the Chiron return and I thought, oh, now I have to be off the roof. And I didn't know, it wasn't so clear for me what being off the roof meant. I from astrology, I know about Chiron return, but so I didn't have a real obvious shift other than feeling more maybe grounded in my wisdom. I over the period before the Chiron return, I've been on a real deep inner journey, and I tasted all kinds of different healing methods and coaching methods, and I just knew somewhere how deep inside of me that we are all one. And that was my journey. That was my quest. So those 30 years or 20 years have been about that. And I think after my Chiron return, it was clear for me what my truth is. And what life is about for me. And that's been a whole journey. And but for you, it's the 6-2. So for you, it's more conscious. I think
what I was going to ask you, I'll just show folks my chart here. You can see Marianne and I have a very similar design. Is the 6 is on the personality side? Definitely. I don't want to go into too much detail. I've talked about it on other recordings. But yes, it's in the personality. It's right here. And it was very, the Chiron, and I knew about my human design then, was very obvious that my life was falling apart to rebuild. I didn't know that till I got over it. But this was my question, because what I noticed after 50, and it was a couple of years, like another year and a half, they say the Chiron return is like a 7-year process. I would add another year onto it on the other end. But people noticed me. They saw what I was doing. I lived in an apartment complex at that time, and I remember one day, it was like 2 of my neighbors were like, outside, and they saw me, oh, I want to talk to you. And they weren't normally like that. It was like people were coming to me. I wonder if you noticed because that's something that goes with that. Once you're off the roof, you're visible,
Yeah.
Did you notice that aspect of it?
yeah, you're visible, but you have to make yourself visible as well. You know, it took me a while to have the courage to share my truth and my wisdom. So that, but now slowly, you know, it's happening, and people find me, and I don't know. It's just, I guess it's just there
Well,
because.
I would invite you to just check this out. If you get attention or not. I noticed that I got different attention, more attention on me. The other thing that I noticed that just came to me afterwards was that when I spoke, see, I don't have a defined throat like you do.
Uh-huh.
There's
Mhm.
my energy. I got the defined, that's it. So
Mhm.
I noticed when I would speak that, this is the throat center here for those that don't know, there was a difference in my voice. I didn't back down as much. And
Mhm.
when I was like teaching or doing human design or the other coaching stuff that I do, I noticed that there was a difference in the way that my wisdom came through, and it was just, it landed. It was like you said, more grounded. So I'm wondering if you noticed that about how you felt about your being an authority, because that's what the role model is an authority.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and I think, you know, when you say my life was falling apart around the Karen return, I think my life was falling apart in the 20 years I was on the roof, more or less. Yeah. And after that, it became more quiet, but more aligned within myself. And and of course, you know, what is a role model? You know, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's switch now, not so much to the roof, though that
Uh-huh.
topic may come up. But I get a lot of questions. I've been around a lot of people that have the 4-6 profile.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're a really good person to share your observations, because you have the fourth line shows up, what was that, 9 times, and you have like 8 sixes. So you have a lot of 4s and 6s. So you understand the dynamics. They're not necessarily harmonic.
Mm-mm.
There's 2 parts of you. The 4, the keyword is the opportunist, and the 6, the keyword is the role model. So what would you want to share with other people that you've noticed about the 4-6 profile? Either they live with one, or their children are a 4-6, or they are a 4-6.
Yeah, you know, the 4 is, I think, an interesting one too, because it's the network or it's the opportunist. And I think I have over the years, but that's, you build your network, you know, also when you do your courses and you go here and you go there, you build your network. So what I've learned about the 4, it's about externalizing information. And what I'm good at and what I see myself doing a lot is thinking, oh, I've heard this, you know, you should look into that, or you should read that book, or you should connect with that person, or you should, oh, this is a great person. I'd like to, that's what I did a few years ago with Penny Pierce. I just called her and said, oh, you want to come to the Netherlands? Because what you shared just resonates so deeply. And she did. So I think that's the influence that the fourth line has. And that's how it works for me. So to share the information, to, yeah, just be enthusiastic about what touches me, but it has to be about it has to resonate with my inner truth.
One of some of what you're saying also relates to your incarnation cross. So I'm just going to push that over to the side for a second, but let's come back to the 4, the
Mm-hmm.
opportunist, the influencer.
Mm-hmm.
They do best when they connect with their friends or friends of their friends. It's kind
Mm-hmm.
of a you know, it's a straight trajectory. It's not like the
Mm-hmm.
3 at all. The 3 is like, oh, I'll bounce over here for a while and let me try this and let me try that.
Mm-hmm.
That is not the 4. The 4
Yeah.
wants to externalize
Yeah.
and influence. It's a very, you know, narrow path.
Mm-hmm.
So have you noticed maybe when you were younger, you were like trying to branch off and go, was that ever a thing that you tried to, in your mind, the mind
Mm-hmm.
would say, you should go and sell your products to hairdressers or to doctors or to engineers when you don't know any of those people. Did that ever happen to you when you were younger? Like, and you ever want to reach out of your area of influence, or was that kind of an innate knowing, like, no, this is best for me right here?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think I've ever done that. Not like that. No.
Okay.
Maybe that's just the personality part that you
Yeah,
know
because you're
well.
aware that that doesn't
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, that doesn't work. You just do it. But it's when I'm enthusiastic, you know, I share with my friends, and then I say, oh, you know, and they, yeah.
Well, sometimes but I'm just kind of having an inner little snicker about is like all the marketing programs out there. Everybody should do it the same way. And a 4 should not listen to that. Sorry to say should. I don't like should on people, but you know, it's going to work best for a 4. That's really important to know. If you're a 4 and you want to grow your business or have a job where this part of your job is growing the company, it has to be through making friends with people and people that you know.
Yeah.
And then the 6, so as a 4-6 profile, what would you say overall about that again, in summary?
Yeah, but for me, you know, the 6 comes with a vision. You know, it's the visionary. It sits on the roof and it looks out, and I always feel like, and maybe that's also the 41, I was born for this time, for this paradigm shift, for this newness, for this evolution, to bring new awareness. And that for me fits very much with the 6. And that's also part of what I share with the world. You know, what's the new paradigm about, and what's it going to be like, and how can we unite, and how can we, so, you know, I don't know if that's the interplay between the 4 and the 6 for me. But
well, I think that's a great segue to your incarnation cross of the unexpected. We are living in the most unexpected time. You know, we don't know if we can go eat in a restaurant or not. One day you can, the next day you can't. We are living in the most unexpected time. So your statement, excuse me, of I was born for this time, I'm going to validate that for you as an absolute yes. People that are born on the cross of unexpected end up in leadership positions. And you do have the 7 to the 31, which is one of the leadership channels. It doesn't have to be an obvious thing. It could be through art or creativity of some way. There's a lot of different ways that it can show up.
Yeah.
That's part of the unexpected. And like you make it elevated, you know, in your career or by your marriage, or you know, I've known people with the unexpected that their parents died young and they were responsible for the inheritance. It's just unexpected elevation or the influence. There's an element of influence that comes from both your incarnation cross and the 7 to the 31. Well, the 31 is part of your incarnation cross, and the 7 comes from your north node. Yeah. So you get it both. So good for you. How exciting.
Yeah, well, we have to wait and see where it all goes, huh?
Exactly. And then we are living in those times where that statement speaks volumes. Well, I
Yeah, it's
wanted,
very exciting
anything
to
else
be
you want
alive.
in closing that you want to share about your profile or?
No, I just feel we're living in really, really exciting times. And yeah, I can just encourage people to truly start living their true selves, you know, to do the work. And then together we can make that shift. I think that's just very important. And yeah, all the role models, I sometimes feel, I don't know if it's true for all of them, they carry this seed in their soul, this wisdom for change and for new times. And yeah, you know, I'm looking forward for all the six lines to step forward and to share their wisdom.
Well, we share that. We
Yeah.
hold that together, Marianne. I feel that as well. And you said something earlier about that you held, you know, knew from very young age about that the light is in everyone.
Uh-huh.
And I think
Yeah.
that comes with role models as well. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for your time. Would you like to share how people can get a hold of you, website, email?
Yeah, my website is senseintoyoursoul.com, and it's both in Dutch and in English because I live in the Netherlands. And yeah, they can find me on Facebook, and they can find me in the beautiful group you started, the 6-line mentoring group. So if people want to participate in that and share with other 6-liners, you know, that's so, yeah, it's so very helpful to get to know people who are on the same frequency. And you know, it's so needed in this time. And to step forward and to just be who you truly are. So
Oh, I so appreciate you. We are cut from the same cloth.
we are, yeah. So
Every
it's
time we talk, we find out more things we have in common. So, well,
yeah,
thank you so much for sharing. And hopefully 4-6 profiles find this helpful and all role models.
yeah.
And uh, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.